Hey everyone. So last October, a few friends of mine threw a music festival called Flipside Function, and I carved a whole bunch of pumpkins for them, and I really enjoyed it. So with Halloween coming up again, I think I'm about to do the same and do this just as a, I guess, tutorial walkthrough process if anyone else wants to carve their own pumpkins for their house. And we're gonna do this very simply, so don't waste your money with all of those kits. All you need is a knife and a spoon. Very easy. So stay tuned, we are about to dive into this. So probably the very first thing and the boring part of this whole process that you're going to want to do is to separate the top so you can actually get in and strip the guts. So how you're going to want to do this is you're going to take your knife and you're just going to go around and cut pretty much a circle around the top. But the key is you don't want to go straight in. If you go straight down into the pumpkin and you just create a straight hole, it's just going to drop through. So the thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you cut in at an angle, so probably at about a 45-degree angle going into the top. That way, with that angle all the way around, the top will sit and fall back into place. So if you go straight, the top will fall through, but I'm gonna show you that right now. So we're about to dive into that. Okay, so top is cut off, and as you can see how it's an angular side, so how we cut these angles into it, that way when you put it back on, it'll catch. So if you go straight down, you got the potential of it falling through. You cut angles in it, not going anywhere. And then just a tip, whichever side you're not putting the face on, so you know how this lines back up perfectly, you can just score a few lines that you know that that's where they line up, or you can just do something like an X down. So you know all those little lines need to match up, that way you don't fumble with it. Not that it's hard at all, it'll go right back into place, but just to speed up time. So now the fun part is all of this, all the guts of the pumpkin, those are gonna have to come out. So you can pretty much stick your hand in and just start grabbing and pulling. And the other thing is, if you want to save them, you can save the seeds and roast them, cook with them, whatever you want to do. I'm just going to be throwing them out for right now. So we got a bag to do that. And just so it's a little easier, we're just going to go through and trim some of this away, but not a whole lot, because we still are going to need the lip to catch, just to make this a little easier. Alright, so the guts that are all stuck down in there, we are going to grab the spoon now and then start scraping those off. Okay, so she is all gutted out now. And then one of the things when you're doing that is you want to scrape down all the way to the rind, pretty much the lighter part. You want to get as much of the wet stuff out as you can, that way it'll last longer, because if you don't, all of that wet stuff and the actual guts are going to, well, they are already wet and they're going to keep that moisture trapped in, and then your pumpkin will just, I guess, jack-o'-lantern will just rot that much quicker. So if you're doing this now and you're just seeing this video, scrape it all the way down to the rind, that way it'll last at least all the way up to and through Halloween, and then you'll have a nice decoration. So now that the boring part is done, we are going to sketch out the actual design of the jack-o'-lantern. So I'm gonna do more, I guess, a scary look. So we're gonna do 2 eyes, a nice nose, and then a mouth. I'm gonna be sketching this out freehand, just with the knife right before I cut it. If that's something you want to do, go for it. If you're not as artistically inclined, I guess, you could always print something out on a piece of paper, lay it over, and then trace through it. But let's hop into it. Okay, so the score marks you might not be able to see too well, but I just kind of sketched out 2 eyes here, a little nose, and then just scored some lines to get a general idea where the mouth is going to be. So this is going to be very much abstract and pieced together as I go about carving this whole thing. But you could even trace it out with marker. That could be, if you got a Sharpie, so you can see the lines better if you really want to stick exactly to your template. But if you're going to go freehand, one thing I would suggest is going smaller. So for example, if you cut your eye too big, it will always be that size or larger. You can't add back to what you cut away. So start smaller, and then if you want, go out further. So one of the other things as you're cutting in is if you want detail and if you want depth and if you want to change how the lighting comes through, same way how we cut in at an angle up top for these, cut into the pumpkin at an angle as well. So if you go straight down, you're going to see directly into it, there will be no depth. But if we go in at an angle, then you'll have depth going into it. So I'm going to start carving, and then you'll pretty much be able to see that as we're working through it. It'll be easier to explain once it's gone. So this might be a good point to show you. So right now how I've got depth, I can see into the pumpkin here, but because I went in at an angle, I've got a lot of room to play with. So if I cut straight through closer to this angle at the top, I'm kind of screwed. I don't have anywhere to play with. I can only go farther out. But now, starting small, I can bring the eye lower. If I want to cut through like that, I can play with the depth more. I can cut it out, and we can starting small, work our way out, and then it's a little less permanent this way. You can play with it better and then adjust your shape more. So starting in, we can now work back out. Eye. So I think we're gonna hold this eye here, start playing with don't know. I think I'm gonna go into the nose a little bit. Yeah, there's no right or wrong way. What you're doing is very freely. And I'm just planning ahead a little. I know I'm gonna want the stem of the nose to go high, almost like a skull. So I'm not gonna cut all the way through into there. I'm gonna try and preserve some of that so I can play with it a little later, so I have options with the design. Same thing going in at the angle. Alright, I think that's a good point. So we're going to start going through now, and then we're going to try and take a similar shape to this eye. Not exact, but similar. Same thing, we're just going to cut this out small and then open it up after. There we go. We got two eyes, nose, scored out a mouth, and I know the mouth is going to be, I just got a general idea of the shape. I want it thin up to the eyes and wider at the bottom, but I'm pretty much, I want this like jagged look for all the teeth, so it's pretty much just going to be stabbing in and out. And if you pry it, so if you saw here when I was prying away the edges, you'll get more of a jagged. And I don't know, if you go in and you try and cut everything individually, you'll get very precise cuts. It'll look almost surgical. I want it to be like broken and more natural looking. We're gonna go through and just kind of pry away the pieces, and you'll be able to see that right now. And same deal, we're just going to go in at angles so we have more stuff to play with, give it more depth. Okay, we are gonna get all of the pieces that fell into the inside out and then take a look at it after that. Alright, I like how it's coming along. I'm just gonna go through, clean up some edges, tweak it out, just do some final touches, and then we'll take a look at the final piece while it's still light out. This is one thing I want to mention right now, is when you start cutting away so much, it gets very flimsy. You can see how much it's moving. If you keep hacking it, odds are you might destroy it. Little tip with I guess a little bit of all of it. If you start getting into fine detail and something falls out, you could always take something like a toothpick, just a wooden toothpick, and stick it in from the back to support something. So if your nose got too thin and that fell or broke off, you can put it back in and re-support it with a toothpick if that's what you choose to do. If you feel like you need to. So I think that is going to be my final design, and I will definitely be throwing up a quick clip when she is all lit up at night. But yeah, if you guys like the tutorial, the walkthrough, the process, I guess leave a like. I'm gonna throw my Instagram. If anyone does end up following this or taking a tip or two, shoot me a DM and drop a follow, subscribe. I will throw those up on my story, because I'd love to see what you guys all come up with, especially if you're following this. But I guess if you're new to the channel, my channel is pretty new. I do a lot of artwork. I'm studying visual effects at SCAD, so I'm going to be posting a bunch of my visual effects stuff. I might do a few tutorials just to keep my mind fresh as I learn all those. I started artwork, not started, but got real big into airbrushing, and I did a lot of commissions and customized motorcycles for that. So I've got a whole playlist and a bunch of those videos coming out that I've done throughout the past few years, and I cliff jump as well. So I've been exploring mainly the whole country, but the whole world. So I've got some crazy stories, and I got a long crazy story up. So if you want to, I guess, learn a lot about me in not a lot of time, and you want a good engaging story, that's definitely a video to watch. So I'll link that. Again, like, subscribe, shoot me a DM if you guys end up following this tutorial. I'd love to see what you all come up with. But we will now wait until the sun sets and see what this looks like all lit up. I'm excited, so stay tuned.